Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. I'm coming to you here. I'm on the road again. This will be the first of many weeks on the road. I suspect, just expect hotel images in the background for a while to come. I warn you now. But that's okay, because this is a big week, and we got a lot to talk about. And so, joining us this week, of course, it's my own little sky pirate. It's Tom. How you doing, Tom?
Hey, everybody. Yeah.
There you go. Also joining us to talk about something I am very, very excited about and close to my heart. We're going to talk about Tyler's newest project coming very soon. It's going to be the first spoilers of it, so get excited. We're going to talk about the unofficial Tomb Kings battle tome. It's Tyler Mengel. How you doing, sir?
I'm good.
So those of you who know, Tyler's done a lot of work on his blog on the Endless Deserts. Tyler, like myself, has and Tom, of course, has a great love of the Tomb Kings, and what is dead may never die. And so we're gonna get a first look at some really, really awesome things that Tyler has been working on, and I know I for one am very, 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 very excited. And I think by the end of the show you will be too. But of course, let's start off with some news. I mean, I feel like it was a slow news week overall, Tom. Barely anything to discuss, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just wish something would leak, like Duarden.
You've been waiting on that pirate joke for since yesterday. I know.
I so have. It's amazing. Yeah. So that kind of dropped last night at like midnight or something.
I think it was about 10:45.
Was it 10:45?
Yeah.
So as I pull up images, what are your initial impressions when you see this?
Sure, of the Karad overlords.
Yes.
I'll let Tyler go first. Tyler, what are your initial thoughts?
I love them. They're probably the single most unique thing for AOS so far.
I will simultaneously say that I love them too. I have no plans to buy them. I'll be very clear about that. Dwarves, as a rule, don't tend to interest me, even very cool Sky Pirate dwarves. I'll flip to double lock on Tom now. But I will say that these are very cool, and their design is pretty great. Just as a rule, I don't care for dwarves, but this is as good as they could be and the best dwarves I've ever seen.
Aesthetically, they are gripping. Like I look at this airship and I'm just like, yeah. Like there's just so much detail, which would be a nightmare to paint. Like I just think about like all of the mini stages of assembling and painting that would need to go into this thing and all of the different layers.
Let me say something, Tom. I don't agree with you.
You don't think so?
No, I mean, here's what I'll say. Well, one, okay, first of all, with anything vehicle-oriented, if you've got an airbrush, life gets a lot easier. I'll start there. Like,
sure.
If you have to brush paint.
If you don't have skin, that helps too.
Right.
Convenient.
So there's a couple things about painting that are newbie-friendly.
Yeah.
And one is things that have, if you can do things that have a lot of metal and not a lot of flesh, stuff like that. Metal tends to be pretty friendly. You can use metal paints. You slap a wash on it. You do a little bit of highlights. And for most people, that's pretty much good. And you can make it look pretty darn good using that technique,
Yep.
That's exactly the reason I'm not, that I don't like them. Copper as a metal color is one of the hardest to work with to make it look really good with weathering and everything else. But if you were a person who was inclined to want to paint these, I think you could paint a lot of these pretty fast. I think to do them to a really high standard, or if you didn't want to use true metallic metals, would be crushing, soul crushing.
Yeah. So before we get into these, I agree. Any viewers, longtime viewers of our show know that this time last year, I was thinking about going back and finding the clips and giving the timestamps. I was begging GW to give me a Dwarven airship. I don't know if you viewers remember this, because I was talking about building one as the culmination of my first budget of Sigmar. That was the plan. I was going to build a Dwarven airship. And I said, come on, GW, we know you have it, on lock back there in the vault. Bring it out. But what we ended up getting, like, we got the airships. Like, these are airships. Yes, the balloons are like locked spheres of whatever. But like, as we move through these, I don't know. Let me jump up to this. Like, then we got like balloon dwarfs.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I was like, okay, like I think I'm still in. And then I got to this guy.
The king, by the way. That's who this is.
Yeah, the king. Yeah, like, by the way, if you can't see it in this resolution, but that mark right there is the king mark for the Dwarven runes.
Mm-hmm. He's the old master rune
character too.
Yep. Say what?
He's a named character too.
He is a named character, and he seems to have stumbled out of 40K. I have a fairly high tolerance oftentimes for a lot of like things when it comes to dwarves. Like, I painted up Iron Drakes, and I'm like, I am totally in. This is fantastic. It's great. Like, I love these guys. And these seem like they would be just evolutions of Iron Drakes, but like the chain sword, and I don't know.
You really dug in on this chain sword thing. That's like I love how this is the hill you've chosen to die on.
It's the one thing about all of these models. Like, sure, they have huge cannons, and these probably function more like jets than balloons. Like, I get all that. I really do. I don't know, man.
But a sword that you could literally just clip off and put any old sword blade in its place. That's the hill you're going to die on. Maybe.
I mean, like, he's not the only one, clearly. Let me just say that. Like,
where's the other chain swords?
Oh no, there are, like, this is the one, the Mr. Monopoly monocle guy with the chain sword, jetpack.
Don't forget, he has guns in his mustache.
He has guns in his mustache guns. Yes.
Yes.
All of that.
Important.
And his landing jump boots with I can't speak English today. Retractable. Yes. Retractable like spring boots, like compression boots, and I
will say, out of the whole range, this is, I don't want to say it's my least favorite model, but it's the model I'm least likely to buy. But at the same time, the fact that he has a chainsword, a monocle, a top hat, and mustache guns, I mean, you can't fault it. I mean, it's just, they went for broke. They went for everything in the kitchen sink, and that is what that guy is.
You're right. Right. No, like, I don't disagree with that.
And let me say this. So I want to touch on a few points real quick here. Okay. That I think are critical for us to not blow by, but that I think are also not worth discussing simultaneously.
Yeah.
Both of those things are cool. A lot of I've really spent, since I've been traveling, I've had to spend a lot of time sitting around waiting. And that has given me free time to surf, like, forums and stuff and look at responses to this. And Facebook and stuff. And a lot of the discussion revolves around, is this just 40K in fantasy? Is this really fantasy? Is it sci-fi? Is it blah, 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 blah. I don't care. Those buckets aren't real.
Yeah, I mean,
and you cannot draw a hard line. There's no hard line you can put around it. I've done podcasts on it. I've done videos on it. And we've done topics of the week on it. And everybody's definition and where their line falls is very much up to personal taste and their own IMHO. Okay? Yep. So trying to draw a hard line and say, that's not my fantasy. If your line is, I don't like it, knock yourself out. I don't care. Don't like whatever you don't like whatever you like. Okay?
Yeah.
But calling it not a representative of this particular group is a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah, it's like a no Scotsman.
Correct. Yes, there's just no line to point at. These things are as fantasy as anything else.
Yeah, like, okay? But let me say it this way. So when we got the Dreadhold, okay, when we got the Chaos Dreadhold, and there were jokes of like, oh, look, it's Castle Grayskull or whatever. Like, I didn't realize we were actually going to the Masters of the Universe. Like, I didn't realize that that's where this train was headed. And I suspect that a lot of other players didn't realize that as well.
Yeah, I've seen people say, though, that with these guys, the Overlords, they're probably the ceiling, until Clan Skyer at least, of the technological limit of AOS,
Sure. Sure.
It's them and Skyer that are going to be the top. So this is the most, I'm assuming, technological thing you're going to see. So it's the extreme, you know? They're the extreme of that end.
True TikToks. Like, until we get the true, like, clockwork creatures.
If they make them clockwork, like steampunk clockwork, and they have a good explanation for what they are, I'd be fine with it. If it's like Necrons in the fantasy, like Terminator robots, that would be a little too far, I think. But if they give it that fantasy flavor, then I think it would be cool. It adds more variety. You know, someone I saw on Facebook posted, they were talking about this, and they mentioned how this isn't the first we've seen of stuff like this. In the Seraphon battletome, they had the picture of the Slaane's spaceship.
Sure.
And, Sigmar has a space station around the remains of the old world. So
no, it's true. Like, let's be honest.
He built Deep Space Nine. Yes, he built Deep Space Nine, but we're going to argue over the Jules Verne hover bubbles. Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's get in a fight over this.
And I was even saying, like, and they had the picture of the Slaane spaceship, which is actually, I was not a fan of the Seraphon battletome, but that was one of the things I thought was really cool looking in it. And I was saying, I hope that at some point they go back to the Seraphon when they revisit them and give them a bit more of that flavor.
Hold on this guy real quick. Go back up it, dude.
Yep.
This is my favorite guy.
Yeah, mine too.
Of the heroes. I love this dude. Like, that giant freaking pistol he's got, that ridiculous hammer. Like, this dude just looks cool. So I actually really like this guy.
So Vince, I know that you wouldn't do these obviously as an army, but like, could you see some competition pieces come out of this line?
Yeah, I think some of their characters could be good for that. They have interesting detail. It'd be a lot of chances to really work some incredible
ones,
like NMM or something, or
Yeah, I was thinking also with the characters in particular. Like, if you go back to that guy, he would be super ridiculously quick to paint. You base coat, like this color scheme, base coat the gold, base coat the metal, base coat the brass, wash all of it, dry brush it all with the Necron compound, and then pick out the rest. You're done.
No, I agree. I think this is a very, very beginning painter-friendly army in the same way the Stormcast is, because you're dealing with a lot of metals. The more heavier metal you get.
These guys are even more painter-friendly because they have so much more texture. Stormcasts have so many flat areas on their armor, which flat areas are generally not, favorable to dry brushing.
That's a good point.
Has so much texture and like crevices and ridges on it. It's just going to pick up all of that, and it's going to look great.
Yep, that's a good point.
No, I mean, what I would say is this: like, I love the infantry guys. I like these gun guys. Let me say this: with the dude with the organ gun and the little dude with the clockwork bird. Like I love
the clockwork bird is aces.
Yes. I do. I look at these guys and I'm like, I dig what's going on here. And even let me just jump up. Even the pirates, like the ground pirates, like they're not bad.
I like them a lot.
Yeah, I like the little flight suits and stuff like that. I just like, man, there's just something about a handful of those heroes. There's just enough tech there. And the other thing, so this falls flat, this release. Like, I really like a lot of it. But I think I'm probably going to end up not pulling the trigger on it, actually. Like, surprisingly. Like, I was planning on jumping in full feet. But so for me, like, one of the issues is that, like, there's no skin. Like, I know this is really good for like, beginners, but the fact that, like, it's these enviro suits. Like, this is essentially dwarf Stormcast is what we just received. Like, full armor, head to toe, sculpted face, dwarves.
Well, to be fair, like, Stormcast were dwarves were Stormcast if you're going to do that before it was cool then, because, like, the dwarves have a long history of having almost no flesh showing. Like, there are many Dwarven minis where the only thing showing was a beard.
No, I agree. And then what I was going to say is, but the one difference is that you almost always had a beard. So there was organics there, at least in their beard. And so that was always something that, like, the lack of a beard was something that really, I don't know, it's weird, but it's a thing. So for me, like, that was one issue. Another issue was the reality, like the chain swords and the weird, some of the weird equipment. I kind of struggled with. And then finally, the big one for me, and I think this was the big miss, and I'd love to hear all of your thoughts on this, is the this group or this release, let me say it this way, has no combined volume. To me,
Right.
so
the
when I saw
isn't
this,
like the Tzeentch Battletome covered Arcanites, Demons, and Mortals,
Yes.
right? The Stormcast Battletome covered all the previously released open chambers.
both Stormcast and both the old Stormcast, the Aqualore, like that chamber, and then also Extremis. And so the Allegiance abilities allowed you to draw from all three. Some battalions allowed you to mix and match, but we only had a Battletome of just this faction.
Right.
And in the lore, it says that they've been disconnected from their kin for centuries, and they have nothing in relation with any of the rest of the dwarves in the realms, the Duard in the realms. And so like that tells me that we can have no expectation of other like things that might aesthetically look good, like Ironbreakers and Iron Drakes likely don't have any synergy. So if you include them, you lose any allegiance abilities in the book and any access to items.
You know, I'm personally completely fine with that. I like the Disciples book and the new Stormcast book. The fact that they combined it, I mean, that's cool. I didn't want that to become the new norm though, because I'm excited about the idea of sub factions in AOS. You know, like take the undead for example. Vampire counts as an army never interested me. I didn't like the whole aesthetic. I didn't like the whole like Transylvanian vampire, you know, bats and wolves and zombies, and it just seems super cliche to me. But once you start breaking it down, and it's not vampire counts anymore, now it's Soul Blight and Night Haunt and, you know, Death Rattle. And Death Rattle on its own, or Night Haunt on its own, is so much more interesting to me as an army than some, you know, vampire in a cape calling bats to him and raising skeletons. And this, like, some of the, you know, I know some of the factions don't work as well in Order broken down, but the idea of like Phoenix Temple being its own thing, and there's an entire army of Phoenix Temple, an entire army of Elder Council, that just seems, I really like that idea. And
I agree if it works.
They will make it work though when they get there.
No, they won't, and that's the problem. And this is so I think that Phoenix Temple will get a release. I think any of your sub factions that are interesting that have 2 to 3 units, I will get a release. Okay, like what we got with Savage Orcs. But Dispossessed will never see a release, and that's what this told me. And this is the problem, because Dispossessed has 8 to 10 units. Okay, and their hope was never getting new units. Let's be honest, folks. There are so many sub factions that need to be released. Dispossessed as a sub faction was never going to get new units. Their best hope was that they could get fluff, or they could get like allegiances and battalions and stuff like that to use what they have differently. That was their only hope. And with the release of this book, that hope died. Because what this means is that they would need to be included in something like a Duerden, like Realms, like something that's like Fire Slayers, Duerden, and these guys.
Maybe they'll do like an Armies of Azir book and have Free Peoples and Dispossessed and some of the smaller elf factions in there.
I would love to see that, but we have no evidence that that's a possibility.
No, fair, but we do at the same time. I mean, yeah, that's true, but also that doesn't
Grand Alliance
necessarily that doesn't prove
just
contra positive. No, because then you don't have Lizardmen and Fire Slayers, and assumingly somewhere down the line, and these guys and anything else that shows up. I think that's a perfectly fine idea. I think we should suggest that aggressively throughout, because I think that is a great idea. Like an Armies of Azir. There's enough tiny little sub factions you could roll them up and have a general allegiance ability, and assumingly they all do act somewhat similarly since they have this shared culture, right?
So yeah, it's supposed to be the Azerheim, basically Azerheim army marching out. It's not not necessarily the Free Peoples. I mean, let's look at like.
So how do you tie them together? And what I mean by that is there's no shared keyword amongst all of them.
Well, they would have to
rewrite all the scrolls.
Yeah, I mean that's what, if they were releasing a tome, why not? They would rewrite the scrolls. All you have to do is throw in a keyword.
Slight keyword change, update on the app, battalions. I mean, there's 10 different ways they could do it. I'd be fine with any of them.
Yeah, Armies of Azir keyword, Azir keyword, whatever.
I stand by the fact that I think the frustration that you're seeing amongst the more classic dwarf players is just simply because they see this and they felt like this was their shot to have a combined volume. And with this, like, it's going to be at least a year before these guys get rolled up into a combined volume, if not 2.
Sure. All right. Well, we beat that to death. What else we got?
Yep. So relatedly, let me pull open another image real quick. And this actually shows us some scale.
Yeah.
So this came from the game show. So these are your on foot in the background. You see these? And here is, I think this is the big one, the 3 balloon one. I think that's what that's telling us.
I think that's the smaller of the 2 big ones.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, because it doesn't have the thing on the front.
The prow, yeah.
Yeah, and so this looks like is this 100? 100?
Yeah, it looks like it to me.
100 round, probably.
Yeah.
Probably what we're dealing with. So that looks sweet. And then you get some of the infantry in a terrible image. They clearly they clearly came from the school of taking bad images. And then if you look in the down below are 2 of the things that we're going to talk about next. The really one on the right. Yeah.
Really quick, I just want to say I'm convinced at this point that GW models have some type of field they emit that distorts phones whenever people try and take pictures of them, because we have not had a single clear shot of any leak, because this is technically a leak. It's not a GW release picture model ever.
They just have the dampener to correct it at Warhammer World.
Sure.
Yes.
Before we move to those other 2, let's just do a quick summation on that. So now that we went through the whole discussion on the new Jordan. Okay. For me, I will say I empathize with you on the combined tone. I get it. This was a great chance to just knock all 3 of those out, give them allegiance abilities and so on. At the same time, I'm also empathetic of Tyler's position, and I understand that putting out the tome by itself makes a clear statement that these are a thing, they're their own thing. So there is a tension between what you want to do narratively or what you want to do for impact versus what the rules aspect of it, what's really driving the cycle. I get that. Okay. But overall, it's such an amazingly unique, fun army. It's not as though there aren't other models that have looked like this in the history of models. Rackham dwarves, many people have pointed out, have some aesthetic similarities to these. And certainly I see more Jules Verne than 40K in here.
Sure.
The appeal to these things as squats or whatever, as 40K models, it doesn't resonate with me.
Right.
I don't feel like they're there. The big globes are weird. Not that you couldn't. I mean, I'm sure people will do some interesting conversions for the Adeptus Mechanicus and stuff like that. That's fine. Who cares? But I think on the whole, these guys are neat. They explore a new space. I think they're one of the coolest looking, most original factions we've seen. I think they're very AOS. They're super AOS. They're AOS on 11, baby. That's my summation.
Yep.
Either of you have any final thoughts before we move on?
No. I'm trying to stay positive.
I don't know when I'm going to have time to paint these between my Stormcast and my Arkanites. That's my only thought right now.
Very nice.
I think that's the plan, Tyler. I think that's the plan.
Yeah.
Metal wash, dry brush done, buddy. You're good.
Yeah.
There you
go. So briefly, going back to the photos. So what we end up having is some additional models down below. This came out at the same show, the Thunder and Blood. It's a starter box. It's basically the contents of the current starter box minus the 2 leaders. So minus Vandus, minus the mounted on Dracoth Lord Celestin, and minus the Korgus Skull. Yeah.
I think
minus those
was out too. I didn't see him either.
Oh, was he? I thought they said that it was just missing those 2 minis. Maybe I missed that. Yeah, so it's some similar amount. I know the Bloodstoker's in there. I know the Lord Relictor is in there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all your foot troops. And then it comes with the box itself turns into a terrain piece, which is pretty sweet. I'm guessing it maybe folds out an opposite. I'm guessing.
No, it's they showed it on the video. So the box right there is you open up the side and it's it slides out. So there's like a separate box inside of it, and you just turn that upside down.
Nice.
It's just like the new Greater Demons. Like if you bought the Lord of Change or Archeon, they have a box inside. They have a sleeve and then the box.
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
Got it. And so there's that, and there's also a two-sided map that they said it's neoprene, but somebody else pointed out that it's like just a poster.
No, they said it was. They said thick vinyl.
Thick vinyl.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Slightly thicker than a poster.
Slightly. There you go. Slightly thicker than a poster. And a lot of people have said it's a lower price point as well. What are you guys anticipating that this price point's going to be at? I have a guess, but
$85.
How much is the current one right now?
125.
Yeah, I'd say 80. What's the get started? Those are 85, right?
Yes, the getting started are 85. The Spire of Dawn is also 85. I'm
guessing 85 then. I think that's their magic number that they're going for.
I agree. I think that they've sold a ton of boxes at 85, those getting started, and they realized that they could kind of channel some of that. So here's an interesting observation. This box is called Thunder and Blood, a Warhammer Age of Sigmar starter set. Warhammer Age of Sigmar, an indefinite article. Do you think that we're going to get a number of additional like 2-word starter sets? So like this would be like Blood, and this is Thunder and Blood, which is Stormcast and Khorne, and you could get like Dinosaurs and Bile or something.
Sure.
Like Seraphon and Nurgle. I don't know. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like other releases.
I think that would just be called Dinosaurs and Ew. Like it's just onomatopoeia on the cover.
That, or they're just, I don't know if this means they're getting rid of the current starter set. This could be an addition too.
That'd be interesting, especially for the Bloodsecrator and
the characters. And I'm assuming it doesn't come with as many. Definitely can't come with the rulers. I don't think those will fit in the box.
No, they won't. Yeah, the other element here that I didn't mention was that it's colored plastic. So like the Stormcast are gold plastic, and the Khorne are red. So like you're halfway there painting wise. For these guys,
you should still prime them.
Yes, you should. So it's again, I think what they were trying to do with this, by the way, is I think they were trying to get into the like boxed game market, like a board game box game.
Yeah, no, I think the colored plastic is great for having it feel a little bit more complete until you get around to painting them.
Yep.
Like I said, I'd still prime them though. But like the Blood Bowl game, it was great having the colored teams, because I was able to play games with them before I got around to painting my humans, and I didn't feel as bad as playing with gray plastic.
Yeah. So and then so I'm guessing 85 on the starter, and then the other big news is what you see down here, this Shadespire, and we got a teaser. Warhammer Underworld. It's a new game that's dropping late 2017. Dollars to donuts, Vince. This is what you're going to get to play test next week at the Wednesday preview.
Oh, are you going to be there for the Wednesday one?
Yes, I will.
Lucky.
That they said you'll get to
off work.
Stuff that's not going to be out for almost a year, and a new game to play. My money is going to be on the Shadowspire, or the Shadespire. Sorry. As Vince pointed out, and I would agree with him, I think that whatever Shadespire is, that's the image that we probably saw last week. The face that we thought was the elfy face.
Yeah, because if you the teaser trailer for Shadespire had like that had this sort of green rock piece in the background that comes up behind.
This poster has that green rock in the back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this seemed to be the same sort of material that the face was made of.
It is, and so folks have pointed out that so there's a 40K game that's dropping that's like a box game that's like basically it's their Necromunda, but it's been renamed like Armageddon. And some of us, and myself included, are suspecting that this is going to be our Mordheim remake. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, yeah, why not? They could channel the thing in there. Yes, absolutely. What's interesting about the Shadespire release, I think you buried the lead there, is that it said the teaser trailer specifically said coming in fall 2017 to organized play.
Yes, competitive organized play.
Well, they didn't say the word competitive in the
yes,
thing.
they did.
They did.
Oh,
they
did
did.
they? Okay.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
Okay.
competitive organized play.
Right.
Yeah, like that was a very clear, and so a lot of people are likening this potentially to like X-Wing, or some of those other systems.
Sure.
And it'll be interesting, especially if they have like League play or like Friday Night Magic, or they try to break into that market with this kind of miniature skirmishy play. I'd be interested to see. Some people have suggested they may move to like hexes and not move away from measurement.
I mean, there's a lot of ways they could go with this. Like Mordheim was always only loosely related mechanically to the 6th edition framework it was built on, right? So there's no reason this has to be in the same way that this has to be built on the same rule set. It could echo the rule set in the same way that say Warhammer Silk Quest Silver Power.
Or what we did with Mordheim. I mean, like when we did our Mordheim rewrite, it echoed AOS, but there were definitely some things that didn't convert over and we had to play with. Right. The other thing I want to point out, like somebody had mentioned that like this is Warhammer Underworlds Shadespire, just like we have Warhammer Quest Silver Tower. So this like lends itself to potential like multiple expansions. So with Mordheim was a place. Like that was a thing, and there was a narrative driving for like why people were there and why people were competing for what they were competing for and whatnot. Here we have a place, Shadespire. Right. We have no idea what Shadespire is or what the driving narrative for why people would be there in this underworld, this Warhammer underworld, in fact. But there seems to be some motivation for them being there in this named place. Shade, by the way, obviously Ooglu or Ooglu. Yeah. Ooglu, the realm of shadow. And so it ties with like the shadow elves and that whole conversation that we talked about.
Right.
With the green. And so like this maps with a lot of those data points that we had connected we'd started to connect last week.
Can we talk about how great that helmetless Stormcast looks on the cover? That dude's looking awesome. Look at that guy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool looking.
Yeah, like that sword is sweet. It's like just staring at you. So that's a great piece of art. Just kudos to whoever put that art together.
His something about his shoulder and arm that's holding the sword though looks a little
scale looks off. It may be the angle as well.
Yeah,
but I agree the scale looks off. The other problem my concern I would say with this, like I'm super excited about it. Let me open with that. Is that if it is competitive play, Mordheim wasn't competitive play. Like that's not why you sat down and rolled dice for Mordheim. And so it concerns me if that's the direction, like if this is what we've gotten. Is this super tight rules, like balance focused skirmish game. Like I don't know. Yeah.
It's more ways to play. If that like I don't want to I don't want to think too much into it, but
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see, but like I just wonder, like, is it still Mordheim? It is the question, from a design standpoint. Like that's the question that when I read through it, that all I have to end up asking and answering. Is this still Mordheim?
No, and it doesn't have to be. It's not. It's Shadespire.
Right. Yes, but I'm saying from a creative agenda, like coming into it, are my expectations for the same type of experience that I had with Mordheim? Because if this is the replacement or if this is that placeholder in their world for Mordheim, is this going to fill that same desire that I got when I played that game?
Sure. Well, I think you'd have to be careful about setting that expectation for yourself then, right? Because they haven't come out and said that.
No, I agree with that, and I'm more putting a pin on this or a finger on this for the audience that are looking forward to this.
Sure.
So that they understand that this may be quote unquote the Mordheim remake, just like the others, the Necromunda remake, but this may not be the same thing. Right. And people need to check their expectations around that. Okay. So that was like a lot of news, and we still have a lot more. So I'm going to move pretty quickly through the rest. The online retailer, it's so cold outside right now. That's because hell froze over.
Do you want to stop screen sharing, or are we just going to all stare at Shadespire?
Yeah, you can stare at Shadespire and the amazingness of it. It's because hell froze over, and GW has lifted their ban on online retailers for the carts starting May 3rd, I believe. There's info on it on Spiky Bits and a number of other news sources at this point. And it looks like they've also at the same time put a cap on the discounts that can be offered by retailers at 15%. Now, I don't know, I didn't get into the legalese of it, but I'm not sure if that's for all online retailers, all retailers, or if it's if there are ever exceptions to that. So it's worth looking into, is what I would say. But it looks like there is going to be some change in pricing structures moving forward, especially for a lot of the online retailers that, where you may be able to currently buy minis at a nice discount.
It's a huge deal. This is such a huge deal to come back. It's the kind of thing that was sort of a mind-boggling choice originally, and I still remember the mini wargaming video about this when it happened. It's just their most viewed video on their channel, of their little announcement with Matt talking, to the camera just directly about DW canceling its online ordering, and their store closing and all this kind of stuff.
It was 2003, wasn't it?
Forever ago. Forever ago. And so when I think about that, it was such a mind-boggling decision in a world of online retail, right? Where that's where most of us want to buy our stuff. And I think most people have found their way around it. You go to the war store, you have to call them or something like that. It's annoying.
Yep.
And it just led to me not buying, new often or something like that, or just being I didn't really need it or whatever. So it's good to see them actually reversing a bad decision.
Yeah, and if there isn't a cap on the discounts that online retailers could level at 15%, I think it moves the offering to make local stores a little bit more competitive, especially if local stores are offering a similar discount. For example, I know a store that offers kind of a flat 20% discount in store on GW products. And it just makes me wonder, if that's the case, I'm always going to buy from that store because the best I can get online is 15%.
Well, I mean, I think they looked at. I think that 15% number is very intentional. Let's assume for the moment that it is just a cap on what you can do.
Yeah.
And that it doesn't extend what you can sell in the store, even if you have an online presence.
Yep.
Which I don't know if that's the case. We don't know if that's the case.
Yep.
Walking down that imaginary road. There does need to be, one of the problems they ran into originally, one of the things they cited was you've got to be careful about this, because if you let online sort of deep discount people come on, it will kill, all friendly local game store sales of this stuff, right? And there's a danger to that, because they're fully aware that they need FLGSs to get people into the hobby.
Yep, they need people playing this. I swung by. I was in Columbus this last week, and I swung by Vince's local game store. And I walked into a Rotbringer or Seraphon game happening at the front table, big bay window, an AOS game. Walking in, the last time I was there, they had an entire wall and a half of AOS material. People were just walking around talking about AOS, and I was like, "What is this world?" You have a very hopping community there, Vince.
We do. It's a great community. Great store. One of the a really great store. But yes, preserving. That's why I suspect they wouldn't cap what you can sell in the brick and mortar percentage. Again, I haven't seen it, so I don't know. But to me, that then preserves the benefit of making the drive to the store, right?
Yep.
But that being said, the people who have no local store access, and by the way, there's plenty of those people.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people who don't have a local store. At least now they have better options to more easily shop online. It's opening them up to a lot more customers.
I completely agree. So we're gonna move on from that because we still have more news. In other official news, we had the rumor engine, the new rumor, because as if we didn't have enough rumors and leaks. The new one dropped today, and it's this. Yep.
Breathtaking.
Breathtaking. A piece of great sewer, maybe. It looks like, like I could imagine this being like an arch in a sewer where it's like the bars, or like a window pane, maybe. Vince, you had said it looks kind of 40K-ish.
I did.
I don't know. I mean, like, so here's a weird world that we could be in. What if this, how the new Necromunda remake has terrain in it?
Yep.
Like the factory. What if this underworld has a bunch of like dungeon-ish or sewers-ish terrain stuff?
Sure.
Yeah.
Like this would probably be at home in something like that. So,
all right.
Obviously, hypothetical.
It's time for the age-old tradition of where we all make a crazy call. Tyler, what is this thing? Which plant your flag?
I'm going to go with Tom on this one. I think it's probably from the Shadespire.
All right. Tom, is that your official guess?
It is.
Okay. I'll be the different one then, and I'll guess some piece of 40K terrain, and we're looking at it. It's not an arch. It's some kind of like, that's the floor, and that's a busted sewer grate. Or like the floor of the floor. Might be an upper floor, but it's the floor. There you go. That's my guess.
Like maybe rebar in the concrete?
Yeah, it looks like rebar to me. Yes.
The problem with that is this frame right here with the rivets right here.
Sure.
That's not rebar. So I think we're right, Tyler.
Okay. Very, very well, maybe.
And then the other issues, nope, you don't need any of that. So Scrubby and Wells has a project that he is teaming up with. Is it BEG? BEG. There we go. And they are releasing some tokens that I thought we would let the community know about. Here are some examples of these beautiful tokens. And they're going to be available here soon. There are lots of good token options and like terrain dice and stuff like this. This is just another one of those. He's going to be available online Wednesday on the 22nd.
The first day of Adepticon. Yep,
and they'll be available at Adepticon as well. They're going to open with like chaos and order theme sets. This is the ordered theme set that you're looking at. There are 88 tokens, double-sided, different text on both sides. There are War Machine sets by this Broken Egg Games that are similar. They'll be priced similar to those. The Death and Destruction are coming at some point. If they do well enough, they'll have expansions. And there's again, 88 tokens. So this is like just about every bonus, including like +1 to bravery, -1 to bravery, +2 to bravery, -2 to bravery, like pluses to hit and wound, bonuses to battle shock, minuses to battle shock, bloodthirsty, indomitable, command abilities, running, ran. So not just run, like you've designated them to run, but they actually ran this turn. Okay. Run and charge abilities, retreat, just a whole host of stuff. So it'll be an interesting offering. So those are going to be online, and these are also going to be at Adepticon. So for those interested. And cool. Then really nice looking.
They are.
Yeah. And then there's another piece of news. There has to be, right? Or is that everything? No, that's everything.
Yes, there is another piece of news.
The ICB2 report. The sales report for North America came out, folks, and AOS is number 4. This is like, in a week of huge news, this piece still stands out. Let me just say that. Like, in light of everything else that has dropped this week, please do not let this go buried. This is huge.
Yeah, I mean, let me say a couple things on it, okay?
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the ICB2 report. The ICB2 report is a report that is widely criticized as being out of date, and I don't disagree with that. The ICV2 report is based on a non-scientific method of survey gathering, wherein they just send a note to brick and mortar retailers that are listed, Games Workshop stores don't participate. But they send it to brick and mortar stores who will participate in this program. It's not an all-encompassing, you have to fill this out. It's voluntary participation.
Yep.
And they say, what are the top 5 things in each of these categories that you say? Okay. And then people just basically give their answers.
Okay.
Now, the critical things to understand here are: 1, it's not scientifically gathered; 2, it's not it's voluntary; and 3, it's brick and mortar stores only. It doesn't represent online sales.
Yep.
Okay? So we're getting, and by the way, it's U.S. as well. Like the ICV2 report only surveys U.S. brick and mortar. So this is a slice of the market, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want to like overstate what this. It's hard to take this report and draw like wider market conclusions from it.
Correct.
But what I will say is at the same time, I do agree with you. It's a big deal because if you go back and look, are you eating chips? What are you doing?
Nothing. I thought that I would complicate matters. I don't have a zipper, so I wanted something else that created audio interference with you while you're talking.
Good
and it worked.
All right. So at any rate, if you go back and look, Warhammer Fantasy traditionally like rarely appears on this report. Okay, like 40K has been more or less a constant. It was number 1 for a long time, and then it got dethroned by X-Wing, and X-Wing still held it number 1. That is relevant. 40K being 2, and then basically it's like GW is 2 and 4, Privateer Press is 3 and 5.
Yep.
So it's interesting when you look only at past versions of the report, I suppose. Sure. And what's relevant about it is that yes, AOS on this report went from non-existing as either AOS or fantasy, because arguably last time, one of the problems is the ICV2 report is compiled really poorly as well, because the last report we got just said Warhammer.
Yeah.
What does that even mean? Most people took it to mean 40K.
Yep.
But like we don't know. Was that some kind of combination? So it's just really hard. You can like, it's not an easy thing to draw massive conclusions from, but it's a great sign that it showed up there. That's what I'll say.
Yeah. It communicates health. More than anything else, what it says is that the hobby that we're in is healthy.
Yeah, I mean, yes. If you're on this report, you're probably doing pretty good, right? Yeah. At the same time, like GW sales crush, something like Privateer Press's sales in toto, right? If you look like worldwide revenue,
right?
So but like that's not. It doesn't matter in that regard. That's my point. You can't look at like greater market health, and that's not a bag on War Machine. It just is.
The one thing I will say about the way you said it's gathered, that they send out a questionnaire to brick and mortar store owners, even if it doesn't accurately reflect the actual sales of AOS, I think this is a good reflection of the changing attitudes of the people selling the product out there. Because I can't tell you how many times I saw in person and heard stories of, gaming store owners dissing their own product because they were salty about AOS.
Yep.
And driving down their own sales out of spite.
Yep.
So the fact that they're willing to say that this is the number 4 top selling thing for them shows that they're putting more trust into the game, which is good, because you can't build a community if the person that is there
selling the product,
sell you the community, or hosting the space, is bagging on your game. It's not going to work.
Agreed. That is an excellent point. It really is, and always a wonderful bit of irrational thinking. There's a much deeper point here about people's rational self-interest and how they don't
cut off my nose.
Yeah, exactly. Like we'll stay out of the economic implications of the broader irrationality of this. But yes, I agree. You're absolutely right. Like people, the store owners coming to realize and look upon this favorably and as something that can not only make them money, but that has a good community around it. That is nothing but a good. Yes, totally agree.
So that's the news.
It's a big one tonight. All right.
Yeah,
Oh, that's all right. All right, so let's get right on to it then. Let's talk about some pick of the week. So Tyler, you're the guest, buddy. What do you got? And as always, shameless self-promotion.
Can I do the pick of next week?
Yeah, man, whatever you like.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something genuine here.
Just
if you don't pick your product, I'm going to pick it. I'm just letting you know that.
I hear there's a really good unofficial battletome coming out next Wednesday. Should probably be looking forward to.
Would that be Wednesday, the 22nd of March, also the first day of Adepticon?
It would be, and I was I started thinking about this the other week about moving my release date because I remembered that Wednesday is the day Games Workshop is announcing some big new game, but it's not till night, so I'm good. I've got the day.
But not only that, like it's probably already been spoiled.
Yeah, at least a little
Does that
bit.
make sense? Like we know it's Shadowspire, or likely, like some of what is coming has been spoiled. Let me say that. Yeah. We don't know that everything has.
Yep. Yeah, there you go. See, they did you a solid. They were like, we got to clear out some space. Let Tyler go. We don't want to stomp all over his thing. All right, we're good.
They're working around me here.
Tell me, what about you, sir? What's your pick of the week? Oh, by the way, I will put I'll put the link down to Tyler's blog. I assume that you'll be able to find everything you need to there, and you can find everything you need on the Endless Deserts there. You can also find Tyler's excellent review of the Karadran Overlords that he wrote up very quickly. Just sort of the initial impressions. Review is the wrong word. Initial impressions. First impressions.
It's just so that there is no confusion, and then there's no critique that I'm just salty about everything. I'm gonna actually pick the Karadran video that GW dropped on Warhammer TV of the big fleets coming and flying in, and it's super epic. And you watch it, and you're just like, damn it, I want to play those. You also don't get to see any of those heroes real close, so a lot of my complaints aren't there. You just watch that video, and you're just like, it's amazing. Look at it. Look at it.
Yeah, because you see the ships, which I think we all agree are incredible.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah, you see like the big guns, the dudes running forward, you're like, yeah, let's do this.
Sure.
And yeah.
All I was thinking, like, I will openly admit that that I don't like dwarfs, but I was trying to figure out where I could buy those ships and fit them in as like some other mini. Like, what can I use that ship for in another army? Because I thought those ships were pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie, I was trying to figure out how to fit the big one in.
And like, let's be honest, everybody, like Vince, you mentioned this before, like I love Eberron. Yes. And if there is ever a force that fits in that world, it's this one.
No joke. No joke. Yeah, boy, oh boy. I don't know. I'm not sure if the dwarven ships can go faster than 35 miles an hour, which, as we all know, is a cap for all airships in the world. At any rate,
that is a true fact, everyone.
Yeah, little inside factoid for you there. All right. All right. So my pick of the week is for Mr. Maroc Wolf, who has a great channel, and he's been doing a series of new narrative battle reports and AOS battle reports that are really cool. And he's been using some of his armies. He's done some great Iron Jaws stuff, and he's got his whole converted Wolf Stormcast, which looked really good from the realm of Grr.
We have the Duarden.
Yes, indeed. This is the funny noise episode. So check those out. I'll link his latest battle report down there. It's cool stuff. He's doing a nice, unique take on it, putting a lot of story behind him, really living up to sort of what you can do with AOS. Tell a great story. So check that out. All right. So let's talk about some hobby time. Tyler, what have you been working on, man?
Some Arcanites, actually.
Yeah? All right.
Yeah.
How's that going?
Finished gluing together my first 20 Acolytes and repainted my one Zangor I have done to match the Acolyte I did. Did some conversions. I converted up a Magister and a Fate Master, so it looks more like the Acolyte models, and yeah, that's about it. And working to behind the scenes here to get this battletome all wrapped up and finished. Pretty much consumed my life for the past 2 weeks.
And that's hobby. Like that is
definitely hobby. Yeah, I was gonna say that has to be taking a ton of your time. As somebody who's published plenty of books, I know how much work that is. It's not just like I'll do that on the side a little bit here and there. No, it's consuming. kudos to you. So, have you put together any of the Zangor besides the base Zangor yet?
No, so I'm building towards 1,000 points. My goal for this year is I'm building all my armies that I start towards 1,000 points, and then from there, I can move on to something else or keep going if I want. So I already have, so I already have my Night Hunts that I did up to 1,000 points, which I'm taking with me to Adepticon for the team tournament. So my list for my Arcanites, I also plan building up to 1,000 points. So I guess I did build the Shaman, the Zangor Shaman.
Sure. Yeah.
Good model. It is. The only Zangors I'm going to have in my 1,000-point army, though, are some Enlightened.
Gotcha.
So.
All right. I'll be interested to hear your reaction on the Zangor Enlightened / Skyfire, models. They drove me bonkers, but hey, there you go. All right, Tommy, what about you, sir? What's your hobby time?
I am still working on that stuff that I'd started last week. I am just starting doing some glazing on my Slambo. And I have been working on pink horrors this week. I have enjoyed airbrushing my pink horrors. It's just delightful. Like, it's all skin, and I'm like, yay, airbrush and dry brush and glaze and airbrush, and it's just beautiful. Like, I just wish everything went that smoothly. So I'm going to pick out some details, do some jewelry, done.
I've done so much. How did I accomplish so much so quickly?
Yeah, like, that's what it feels like.
Yeah. Yep. Pink horrors were like built for an airbrush, yes.
And so I'm super stoked about that. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with those. And then I've already, when I was at Guard Tower, I was like, man, pink horrors were awesome. Let me grab a couple of these blue airbrush colors. Those blue horrors are gonna be just great.
Yeah, the brimstones are even simpler because they don't have any other detail besides themselves. Like, they're not wearing.
I'm gonna do my brimstone like the rest of my Zinch, like the rest of my Chaos Fire. So I'm gonna do the the green, like the neon green fire on my brimstone, like that.
Yeah, sure. It's still the same thing. My point is their unit texture.
Yeah.
They have no other details.
Hey, they have teeth.
The teeth seem made of the same thing they're made of. I don't think they have physical teeth floating inside their flame bodies.
Maybe they do.
Perhaps. I suppose that is possible. So for myself, finished up the Shaman, finished up the Skyfires in like a marathon session over the weekend, which nearly killed me. But then I immediately was rejuvenated and jumped into the Big Bird. So Big Bird's back on my table at home, and I'm excited about him. I got him. He's still very early on, but I got him all put together. Got him, Zenithal primed up and laid down some base colors around him. The Lord of Change, by the way.
Big Bird. Are you gonna do yellow? Do a non-standard.
No, although that would be funny. But no, he will be all the many colors of the rainbow, of course. Like, you've got to really pull up the stuff. I've made a decision not to use any paint on him, so we'll see how that goes. I like models of that size without using true metallics, because you get to do interesting things with sort of the non-metallic color blends, and I've seen a lot of interesting things being done by some other people that I'm going to replicate poorly. We'll go from there.
Cool.
So, all right, yeah. So there we go. I'm looking forward to him. I can't wait to get home, this weekend, and I'll plow another 30, 40 hours into that guy, and that'll be super fun. So that's going to be my weekend, locking myself in a room and reading. All right. You know what time it is then? What time is it? It's Tomb King time. That's right. So it's time for the king. Tyler, I'm giving it to you, buddy. Well, why don't we start? Have you explain the project, what you're doing? Because I saw your post. Like, I saw the post and I followed the post on the Age of Sigmar, obviously, right? Or on Facebook. And there was 2 funny comments that ran throughout the thread as I watched people post in response.
Is this official?
Yeah, yeah. Post number one.
Is this unofficial one official?
The one where you clearly said in the text unofficial, in the picture it says unofficial.
Oh.
Like I think it occurred, the word unofficial occurred 3 times in your post. And I still saw multiple people, is this official? Right? Okay, so let's start with no, it's unofficial. It's Tyler's
We really want this to be official. Like we do.
And the second thing I saw was just people saying, like why? Right? Why would you do this? Like, what is the point in your mind of this? So I thought, obviously we know it's unofficial, but I thought we would start by saying, why did you want to do this? You know, what do you see as being the point of this? What do you hope happens from it? It's kind of your high level 40,000 foot over.
Before that, 2 quick comments on both of those comments that you said appear in there. The unofficial thing, every time I post anything about this, someone, at least one person, assumes or asks if it's official. I swear I could put a giant red watermark across every page that says unofficial, and people would still just be like, this is Games Workshop, right? Secondly, the why are you doing this thing? I think my favorite comment I saw for that was on a post a while ago where some guy went off on a rant about why are Tomb Kings getting this first? High Elf should get it. High Elf's this, High Elf's that. And I'm like, I'm making it myself when I play Tomb Kings. That's why. If you want High Elf one, go ahead and make one yourself.
You can ask Vince. I've already, I contemplated this project. Like, I looked at it and I'm like, I don't know. Maybe after Tyler's done, maybe I take a shot at High Elves.
Oh, do it.
Yeah. Man, no.
But yeah, so sorry, what was the question?
Why did you do this? Other than you play Tomb Kings, which is a good answer.
Yeah.
But I suspect it was more than that. Lots of us play Tomb Kings, but we weren't inspired to plow hundreds of hours of our life into a battle tome. So there you go.
Yeah, well, okay. So it started small and spiraled out from there. It started a couple of months after AOS released, and I did a Time of War rules for Tomb Kings. And I just did that for fun. I just figured, these Time of War rules are a little 2-page rule set. It'd be fun to see what I can come up with. If I do a bad job writing the rules, it doesn't really matter because it's Time of War and it's optional. And people can, pick and choose what they want from it. And it would also, I wanted to try and make it look like the Games Workshop look. So it seemed like, a small self-contained little project that I could do. That's where the Endless Deserts came from, because I needed a name for the setting, and I felt really uncreative that day, and picked the first thing that came to my mind. It seemed like it fit, though. It fits AOS,
Sure.
The Endless Deserts. And then, so I did that, released that. People liked it. And then I did a battle plan next, because I figured, why not? And then I had to write the little flavor text for the battle plan, just like a little 1-paragraph thing of what's going on. So that kind of started up a storyline there. And again, I wrote it. I planned out the battle plan, but the flavor text I kind of put off towards the end. I'm like, all right, I need to put something in here. What is going on specifically? I knew the basics of the battle plan was Tomb Kings ambushing the attacking player. I wanted it to be Stormcast because I wanted to, Stormcast as AOS tie it in. And then that's where Nihilist Tileborn came from, who's in this battle tome, and kind of like the start of the storyline of, at the time, my Tomb Kings within AOS. And then went off and did kind of an unrelated project, not Tomb Kings thing. And then I started thinking, though, that I wanted to do a mini campaign book, like the Quest for Galmaraz book, like that type of campaign book, focused on the Endless Deserts. And I started planning it out. Started, I was going to use this battle plan. I was going to use the Time of War rules. I was going to do a few more battle plans, whatever. And then the Grand Alliance Death book came out, and Tomb Kings are gone. Right. Last chance to buy. They're not getting new war scrolls. They're not getting any of that. So my first thing I decided to do was, after that, was give them updated look, like updated only in the appearance war scrolls with fancier background, the picture of the model, because I have a display board from Armies on Parade from a few years ago, and I have all my own models on round bases. So I'm like, why not use these? So that started that, and then I was going to Adepticon that year. I decided that I wanted to make something special for my army list, and I wanted to have my army list and then a war scroll for each unit I'm taking with a picture of the actual unit. And then I decided, well, this is already like, I forget how many pages it was at that point, like, 15 pages. Seems too many pages for something thin, but not enough for something bigger. So I added some background lore to kind of, fluff it out a bit, basically, and fit in some stuff about Endless Deserts and some stuff about Tomb Kings within the Endless Deserts. Mm-hmm. And from there, I think it's pretty much after I got back from Adepticon, after I saw how that book turned out and how well it went over, I decided, well, okay, I'm going to make a battletome. I've already got, some stuff written. I'd also made the Endless Deserts website at that point, which I made primarily as a place to put all the stuff I'd written for this book online so people could read it without having to have the book. But I ended up writing more for that because now I wasn't constrained by pages. I could write as much as I wanted, so I wrote some more. So I already had a good chunk written. I decided, well, I'm going to make a battletome because I know they're not getting one. And right at this point, the Sylvaneth battletome came out, and I saw the allegiance abilities and all the cool stuff that the new battletomes are getting. And I'm like, well, I'm definitely writing a battletome now. I want the Tomb Kings to feel like a modern AOS army in the way that they play and in the stuff they have access to. So that's where it came from. I decided I was going to do it. I've been working on it. I've been working on it decidedly as a battletome since about May. So almost a year. But parts of it have come from stuff from before then, like the Time of War, the battle plan. Some of the War Scroll stuff was from before I even decided I was going to start doing any of it. So it's been in production for a while.
And now here we are. Here we are, ready, a week away, a mere week from the end of this long road. Are you happy that you've accomplished this? That you've gotten to the end of it? Does it feel good?
Yeah. I kind of am at a loss of what to do now because I've been working on this project, for I don't want to say nonstop, but a lot over the past year. And whenever I had downtime, free time, when I didn't feel like or I couldn't hobby with models and paints, I could do this because all I need is my computer. And now I'm just I don't know what to do now. I need another project, but at the same time I kind of need a break from projects. So
yes, that is something I get completely. Both the post-project doldrums and the strong desire to have a break. I get that completely.
Yeah.
All right. So let's ask this question, man. What's going to be in here? What can we look forward to in the unofficial battletome?
Well, why don't we just take a look at it here?
Hey!
So, do you have to share my screen, or do I share it?
Locked on you. Up in your top left, you have a little green rectangle with a white arrow in it. Just click that, and
all right.
So yeah, just like open up the PDF, click screen share, and then select your
application window.
Yep, application
window.
All
right, guys, you're about to see the cover.
Here we go.
There you go. You see it?
Boom.
There it is. There it is.
Vince, lock on him, please.
Oh yeah, he is. He's locked on right now.
All right. So this is the cover for the unofficial Death Battletome Tomb Kings. Notice the word unofficial in there, everyone. An unofficial Death Battletome Tomb Kings.
I feel like maybe you should have worked the word unofficial into the red helm crest that's on the skeleton somehow.
Unofficial going across it.
Yeah.
Going in the sand behind it.
So who did this stunning art piece? Because this is original.
Yes. This is Kenneth Erickson, who is... so there's been a team of people working with me on this battletome, as you two well know. Kenneth Erickson has been working with me the longest. He has been working with me on this pretty much since I made that battle plan back near the start of AOS, doing bits and pieces of artwork for me.
Nice.
And this is the last and latest piece he did for it. I really, really liked his style. He'd done so much of the other artwork in it that I decided, I really wanted him to do the cover. Thankfully he agreed to do it. Because this is a completely fan-driven, non-profit project. So everyone who did anything for this was donating their own time to it. And I mean, I think you can just look at this and think about how much time he probably donated for this piece alone.
Yeah,
and it's freaking awesome.
It is.
It looks so good.
It's my iPhone cover picture on there right now.
Nice.
What's better than one blue laser? 3 green lasers.
Yes. Yeah, I love what he did with the. I gave him I gave him an art brief on it, and I basically said, I want it to be a tomb guard because I feel like a lot of the majority of the AOS battletomes don't have a hero on the cover. They've got a rank and file or an elite soldier. So I'm like, tomb guard. I want, and I just directed him to. I really like the look of the Seraphon battletome, and I really like the look of the Iron Jaws battletome. And that's pretty much the direction I gave him. And we went back and forth a bit. He came back with some ideas, and we tweaked it here and there. But yeah, he just hit it out of the park.
I see that background, and I want to be like, I want to build that terrain.
Yeah,
I want that board. That's what I want when I look at that, like the big skull. Like, oh,
yes, that was. He did a great job of making it feel Tomb King-y with the pyramids, but at the same time, it's definitely uniquely Age of Sigmar there with like lasers and portals and gigantic, oversized architecture.
GW, take note. This is how it's done.
Well, it's great color theory too. Like, let me just say that there's a lot of little things going on here. The red against the green, your complementary color at the top, right? He fades it into some of the yellow at the bottom. Because he also fades the red down. The red becomes more dusty. So he goes from a similar color scheme to a complementary color scheme at the top to add extra contrast to the top on the Warhammer. Good stuff. It's aesthetically well put together.
Yes, yeah, it's really, really good. And you can follow him on Twitter, and I believe it's his same handle on Instagram as Ken Keistador.
We will have a link to it.
Yeah, Ken Keistador, QUISTN, whatever. Follow him. He posts. If you were following him before this, you probably saw a few work in progress shots of this as he was working on it. But he's also I follow him on Instagram, obviously, and it was fun seeing him. He would do little Tomb King character studies and sketches, kind of just like, I don't know, to get in the mood for stuff or whatever. And it was some really cool little thumbnail sketches he did for this too.
So good. So what else you got to show us? That's what I want to know.
So let's go into the battletome itself. So cover, intro page. I'll let you guys read that later. Contents.
Oh, stop here. This is a money shot right here.
Yeah, you always got to spoil the table of contents. As we all know, classically, you spoil the table of contents because it gives everything and nothing away simultaneously, right? That's what's so great about a spoiled table of contents.
Yeah. So you can see broken down 114 pages. So it's very, very, very large. You've got 42 pages of background lore in there, of pure background lore. Plus, there's more in the Kings at War section.
I see some new units in there.
There are some new units in there. Well, new to AOS. Familiar to people from 8th edition. But you'll also notice, can you see my cursor?
No.
Yes, I can.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
This is not an official Games Workshop product, right there. But I also made sure, if you're interested...
I would just like to call out right now, by the way, real quick. Yes, you are very funny. People who in the comments of this episode posted, is this an official product? We get the joke. Ha, ha, ha. Okay, please continue.
I recommend for everyone who wants to, when you get a chance to read through this, the credits right here, I list, cover art, and then each person who contributed artwork to this and the pages that their artwork appears on. So if you see something that you really like, flip back to the front, you can find out who did it. So I just want to thank really quick, Kenneth, Jason, and Max, who were the 3 artists who were actively part of this project, creating work specifically for this project and working with me on the project. And then also I had some contributing artists, Jared, Thomas, and Ollie, who I reached out to because they had previously done Tomb King inspired artwork. I reached out to asking if I could use it in this, and they agreed to let me use it. And I want to point out that Thomas and Ollie, their artwork is from the Ninth Age project. So there's some cross-game collaboration going on here, despite what people may think of bad blood between the two. So I just want to thank them for contributing to this, because they, it didn't matter to them that it's AOS. So all right.
Does what is the art from Stonemonk?
He helped with the I'll show it to you when we get to it. I'll show that page.
Okay.
So you can see one of the army shots right here. Again, my display board. One of the things I discovered making this project is I really like doing model photography, and especially when I get to tweak the photos and add in some photoshopping to it. All right. So on to the start of the lore or the background here. This is kind of your general overview. You get the great cover art again.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
The 2-page spread art, you got to have it.
Wow, look at that, folks. Look at it.
So this one's by Jason Clark. Really like it. Really love the scorpions he did in it too. So you can see them.
Some bone splitters calling out in the lore on the left.
Yeah, I tried to include as much as I could from other, tie the Tomb Kings into the rest of AOS as much as I could. So I guess I'm not going to go through all of the lore here, but kind of my philosophy when I was writing it was the main thing I wanted to do is I wanted to make sure that I'm not contradicting other stuff going on within Age of Sigmar. So that means, no named characters from other armies are going to be in here, really. They'll get name dropped. Obviously, Nagash gets name dropped in here a lot. Tomb Kings don't really like Nagash.
As would be appropriate. But your point is like Vandus Hammerhand doesn't write into your story and start doing a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and so any of the more famous armies to famous locations, because I wanted everything that I write about here to be to work without contradicting anything, and I also wanted it to be vague enough that other Tomb King players can put their army into it.
Yep.
So, got the main setting here, the Endless Deserts, which is where it all started from, and it's the main area that's focused on a lot in this book too. It's what the name sounds like. It's a very, very large desert within Shyish, and where most of the Tomb Kings reside. So the main idea behind the Endless Deserts is obviously it has an end. I had someone point out there's a map of it on the Endless Deserts website, which is just a small section of it. But someone pointed out to me that there's a town there called Desert's End. So,
hey, you telling me people don't name their towns ironically? All I'm saying is, come on now.
Yeah. So obviously it ends. There's boundary markers too, the obelisk. So the obelisk in this picture here would be boundary markers marking the edge of the desert. So the idea behind what makes it endless, though, besides the fact that it is physically an extremely large desert, is that it's kind of the idea of once you've entered into it, unless you know exactly how to get out of it, you're not getting out of it.
Right, the old shifting sands. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You're never getting
travelers around, expands, contracts, twists people, gets them lost until they eventually die. Yeah.
Exactly. I also wanted to bring in some of the old lore from Tomb Kings here. So we got the Mortuary Cult. We got something here called the Lost Pantheon. Kind of the idea behind that is, the Tomb Kings had their own pantheon of gods, but in AOS, all the other armies pretty much lost their gods if it wasn't, the Chaos Gods or Sigmar. So the same idea kind of applied here. I didn't want to bring them into AOS also specifically when we saw one of them actually die in the end times. We know it's dead. But it's kind of the idea of the Tomb Kings themselves, the Mortuary Cult, the priests, the kings, think that these gods are still out there somewhere. They can still feel their presence. They think they can still feel their presence, but they can't. It's not like Tyrion and Teclis where they can point to them and say, "There's the god." It's very it's less tangible than that. And then also on that same vein here, so we've got the imperishable one,
Cetropolis.
And Cetropolis had to have a great corny name in there.
I love it.
But the idea again is, so Cetra, he's just too big of a character to survive in AOS in the sense that, there's no way Cetra could be around and he would put up with Nagash. There's just no way it would happen. There's no way he wouldn't have interacted with the Pantheon, Sigmar's Pantheon, or any of the other major characters. So he had to go. He's not in here.
Doesn't mean he's necessarily dead.
Doesn't mean he's necessarily dead.
Right.
The idea behind it is he's known as the imperishable one, and he's almost a myth. So some of the Tomb Kings came over from the old world, just like some of the other undead. Some of them are as old as, they came from Nehekara. They're the Tomb Kings. Some of the other Tomb Kings are much younger in the sense that they're from like the Age of Myth. They were part of a human civilization that existed alongside the undead in the deserts, died and became Tomb Kings themselves. And some of these younger Tomb Kings don't believe Cetra even ever existed. They think he's just something that the older ones made up to make themselves feel better about. At one point there was one of us who stood up to Nagash and he really gave him a fight and, all this other stuff. So Cetra at this point has almost ascended to the pantheon of the gods for the Tomb Kings. He's this near mythical figure who was the height of their civilization, the height of their power, and now he's gone. And that directly led to the cult of Cetra and Cetropolis, which was a rival cult that rose up to not oppose, but I guess oppose the Mortuary Cult in power. They worshiped Cetra as a god. They believed that he still existed. They believed he still walked the mortal realms, and they became such a powerful force within the Tomb Kings and the Endless Deserts that their city of Cetropolis became basically the Khemri of the Endless Deserts. It became a massive, gigantic necropolis that dwarfed every other empire and tomb city in the deserts in power and size. And the Tomb Kings have never had a single ruler, like a single one king that ruled over all of them since Cetra. It's part of their. None of them will bow the knee to anyone besides Cetra. But despite that, the cult of Cetra had so much power that even though they weren't officially the ruler, they had endless influence in what they could do. And the Tomb Kings themselves weren't a big fan of it. The rest of the tomb cities and the rest of the empires. And when the Age of Chaos rolled around and Archaon's horde started pouring into the Endless Deserts, they went straight for Satropolis because it was the biggest, most important city they could find. And they thought, of course, take this down, the rest will fall. Well, the rest of the Tomb Kings didn't really come to help them at all. And Satropolis fell, the cult fell, and now all that's left of the cult of Setra is half-mad lich priests wandering the deserts with their small armies searching for Setra, moving out into the other realms searching for him. That's also part of the explanation for why there are Tomb Kings in other realms, is that during the Age of Myth, a lot of them went in search of Setra within the other realms and established empires as they did that.
Nice. Doing some Leonard Nimoy in search of. I got it. Makes sense.
Nice.
Being that this is my battle tome, I of course get to give my king here a good spotlight. King Farak the Vain. He's again, there is no single ruler of the Tomb Kings. He's a rather powerful and influential Tomb King, though, and he's just one of the more central figures for the Tomb Kings of the Endless Deserts at the moment. And some people look to him as being like Setra Reborn, or not Setra Reborn necessarily, but the person to take his mantle in the Pose and the Gash, and he doesn't really want that at all. He doesn't want that responsibility. He doesn't want that that weight on his shoulders. And something I couldn't find a way to work it into this story of him, and I really wanted to, because this has always been part of his backstory for me. But if you look at the actual figure of him I converted, he's got the death mask on, but there's a crack, there's a chunk missing right here. And the story for me of that has always been in the old world, when Setra woke up first, and there was, if you know the Tomb King lore from back then, there was the War of the Kings. They were all fighting for supremacy, and then Setra woke up and basically took off a bunch of heads and said, "I'm in charge." And my story for that is that his mask is nigh indestructible, but when Setra came to him and said, "I'm in charge," he said no, and Setra just backhanded him and cracked his mask. And since then, he can't repair it. He won't repair it. It's a sign of his, being humbled in front of Setra.
A sign that he knows the truth, that Setra does exist.
Yeah. These little stories right here, these were a ton of fun for me to write too. Little story inserts.
Yeah.
I won't go over that one. But
I do see a great line. I do not kneel.
Yeah, I do not kneel. All right, the timeline space bubble thing.
Looks like AOS to me.
Yeah, this was another, when I started this project, I knew like this has to be in it, and it has to be spot on. So all of these, the bubbles themselves, that's Kenneth Erickson again. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, it looks great.
Great. Ugh.
So you'll see there's some of the big moments in here, the time of ending, the time of beginning. It's kind of just, the first Tomb Kings appear. The Reaping, a mysterious force moves through the desert and culls all mortal life in it. So up to this point, the humans and Tomb Kings were living, coexisting together, and then something came through and everything died. And there's rumors that it's Nagash. Of course it is Nagash. But also Battle of the Burning Sands. I did that on purpose. People might notice it sounds familiar to the Battle of the Burning Skies. And that's because there was, I forget where I saw it, but there was another battle that Games Workshop did that was called the Battle of Burning something. So I just figured that's a trend I should continue.
Makes sense to me.
I want to know about this Hyroscorpion. That's what I want to build that.
Yeah, I just really love the Hyroscorpion from the old lore. I just wanted to bring that back in here.
Nice.
The Battle of Burning Sands is where chaos was broken. So the Endless Deserts didn't suffer as much during the Age of Chaos as elsewhere. They suffered a lot, but they were able to break the main Chaos Horde and send them back and they were plagued by smaller chaos armies ever since then. But this was the breaking of the main army. I also got to do fun little things in here, like Kingdoms in the Clouds, the Sky Kingdoms of Gur. There's some other fun ones I liked in here. Gates of Steel and Shimon. 2 pages of it. 12. This one I like a lot. The 12 Kings of the Court of Black. Arkin the Black, one of Nagash's most trusted servants and one of the Tomb King's most reviled foes, convenes a court in the tomb city of Kahara. 12 kings from throughout the Endless Deserts attend. 9 of the Desert Monarchs, 2 exiled kings of the cult of Setra, and the Ghoul King of ruined Satropolis. After 9 days and 9 hours, the court is dismissed. That's all we know about it.
Nice. I dig that. What a wonderful little snippet. That's
fun. Legions of the Dreadwatch. It's another little thing I like to put in there. That I don't really go much more into it, but it just adds some fun little flavor to it. Threw in Stone Monk, like you said, Stone Monk Gamer. Eric was working on this battletome, so I threw in a little snippet here for some Beastclaw raiders who tried to escape into the Endless Deserts to escape the Everwinter, to throw his army in there a little bit.
Yeah, they came and tamed some Tyranids. That's what happened.
Yeah. So the army colors page, this is where Eric contributed. He did the Ushapti and the War Sphinx.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So some basic color schemes here. Ferox Legion, Kahara, Vince, your army right here. Queen Sadie. So I named her for you.
Yep, I like it. Yeah, so he said, he was like, what do you want to call him? I was like, I don't know, man. Whatever you want, buddy.
The Legion of the Burning Kopesh from Akshi with their charred bones. And the Gilded Legions of Shimon covered in gold. So I wanted to vary it out here a bit from just, typical Tomb Kings. Another 2-page spread. We'll start going through this a little bit faster. This is some of the artwork from those artists who did the 9th Age artwork. So I go into
really great.
Go into some of the individual units. So I said Setra is gone. Kalita is also gone because again, her and Neferata being around, nothing happening. It just wouldn't work.
Right.
But didn't mean I wanted to get rid of the units in the army because I wanted to change the army as little as possible what existed already. So Setra became the Necropolis High King, and Kalita became the High Queen of Asaf. And so those are like the generic versions of them. And Prince Apophis is the only special character to make it through here.
So
I mean, he's just a pile of bugs. So
yeah, he's
probably around.
Yeah.
So it was brought up by one of our viewers, Tyler. The question was asked: if GW came to you and says they want to make the battletome official, what would you do?
I'd have to talk to GW about it, I guess, and I'd have to talk to the whole team that worked on this because it wasn't just me working on it. It was a team effort. All the artwork, obviously, is from other people. But I mean, if GW came to me and asked that would be awesome. I would want to say yes, very much so.
Well, there's your answer, Andrew. Oh, it's beautiful, Tyler.
Yeah, so some more of the. Let me just read this. This is one of my favorite little things here for the skeleton archers. In the ashlands of Akshi, the fire slayers of the Vorstarg Lodge were hired to halt the growing borders of. I can't pronounce half the names I wrote in here.
Let's call it Thaw. Yeah, why not?
Thaw. Of King Thaw's Tomb King Empire, the Duardin fought through wave after wave of gilded chariots and bronze-clad skeletal warriors until they found themselves before the necropolis walls. Thinking victory was imminent, the fire slayers were dismayed when all light fled from the land. The normally ash-choked sky is even darker than usual. When the walls of the tomb city, volley after volley of black-shafted arrows were loosed, as soon as one missile had been fired, another was notched. The runes burnt into the Duardin's flesh proved little protection against a storm of arrows, and after the last had fallen, all that remained before the city walls was a field of corpses. King Thaw declared that the Urgold was to be harvested from the remains and crafted into new arrowheads for his legions. To this day, the Vorstag Lodge holds a deep grudge against the Tomb Kings of Akshi. Not wanting to breed unwarranted hostility, King Thaw has decreed that he shall return the Duarden's Urgold to them, one arrow at a time, to any who dare trespass his domains.
Yeah.
Oh, you really brought it around at the end there. That's some good stuff.
Yeah. So I guess I'll go over. You might notice how this is broken down. So first I just had basically the leaders. We start getting to the cohorts. So this is kind of thinking the same way when I looked at like the Bone Splitters and the Sylvaneth and how they broke down their army into the parts that made up the whole. So I figured that,
like Wargroves or Cabals.
Yeah, exactly. So the Tomb Kings have their cohorts. So there's the Mortuary cohort, which is the Lich Priest, the Casket, the Hierophant, back again, and the Hero Titan. Phalanx cohort is your line troops, basically your skeleton warriors, archers, and tomb guard. Swift Vengeance cohorts are your skeleton chariots, skeleton horsemen, horse archers, and necropolis knights. Stone Rot cohorts, the Ushapti, the War Sphinxes, the Necro Sphinxes, the Bone Giants, and the Kemric Titans.
So can you tell our viewers about what Kemric Titans are for those that don't know?
So Kemric Titans was a unit that was made for 8th edition by Forge World. They made rules for it, artwork for it, and then they never released it. But it is a gigantic scarab stone construct statue creature. It's it was part of the Monstrous Arcanum, so it was supposed to be this gigantic model. And there's a really sweet piece of artwork out there for it, and maybe we can pull up later.
I'm actually pulling it up right now.
All right, and yeah, it's just again, there wasn't a model for it ever, but there were.
Boom.
Here, I'll handle it, Tyler. You can keep sharing.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. You don't have to change it. So there you go.
There's the Kemric Titan, folks. There was rules for this, as Tyler said, in the Monstrous Arcana, and indeed, folks, there is rules for this bad boy again.
Yeah, so I wanted to give people who went through the effort of making models for this the ability to use it again in AOS. Like Steve Foote out there, I know, he uses them as Necro Sphinxes, but it is definitely a Kemric Titan model that he has in his army. So I just wanted to give the people who put the effort into that, I wanted to reward them with being able to use it again. Are we back on me?
Yep, you're good.
All right. Also, I really like this piece of artwork too. Stalker cohorts are the sepulchral stalkers, carrion, tomb swarms, and tomb scorpions. And the artillery cohorts, the necrotechs, and the catapults.
It all fits so well. Like all the little pieces in the cohorts. Like kudos on pulling all that together.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a little bit of there was one other cohort that disappeared. And I won't say which one, so just in case I don't want to disappoint people. But it was just a matter of, honestly, it was a matter of I didn't have the models to take pictures of it. So I had to meld it into another one, and it probably works better being melded in. So it ended up being for the better. I particularly like this 2-page spread that I made for it.
Nice little. You got rocking some Photoshop here. It's good.
Yeah.
Using the base models, but doing some awesome things with them. It's great.
Yeah. So this is inspired by that End Times piece with Nagash.
Oh yes.
So then this is just the model gallery. Some of your models down here, Vince.
What's that? I recognize some of those Zangor.
Yeah. And then the Heavy Metal pages, or the Mengel Miniatures pages in this one. Some other recognizable models right there.
Yeah. Those Varangard are in trouble. Let me tell you that right now.
They are. Queen Sadie's going to clean up.
Absolutely.
So this is the section on when you break it down in the battle tomes, it goes into the battle plan and usually talks about how the Tomb Kings fight in other areas. So I kind of trying to cover that. Again, the Endless Deserts were the focus, but I really wanted to make it, they're everywhere. They're in Akshi, they're in Gairan, they're in Gur, they're in Shimon, they're even in Azir. I mentioned that there's Tomb Kings that when Archaon invaded the deserts, instead of standing and fighting, maybe their necropolises were overrun, but they fled into Azir behind Sigmar's gates for safety. So I really just wanted to give everyone, there's so many different varieties out there that you can do. It doesn't just have to be the typical desert Tomb Kings.
Right. No, that's cool.
This is another really, I wish I could have made this piece of artwork here larger, this obelisk, because it was a very, very nice piece from Gairan with the vines.
Mm-hmm. Sweet.
These are the Time of War rules that I made way back when. They've been adjusted slightly since then to fit in better with things here or there, but they're pretty much the same. So the battle plan. So the newest two battle tomes, Stormcast and Tzeentch, they changed up the way they do battle plans now. They don't have the little bit of lore in front of it anymore, which I'm a little sad about because I always liked reading about those battles. So I mean, I started mine before that, but even after I saw that, and I decided to keep it. I like having a little bit of story in here.
No, I'm with that totally. It was one of the, it's funny you mentioned it because it's one of the things I noticed missing.
Yeah.
When I looked at the new ones, I honestly felt that as well. Like I was reading, I was like, huh, that's weird that they took that out. So I was happy to see this remain completely, honestly, because I feel like the narrative is what makes the battle plan interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I enjoyed it. So this one is, like I said, what started off as this little paragraph of flavor text of Nihilist Titleborn down here. Again, another piece by Kenneth Erickson. Expanded out into a larger story. So it's the first Stormcast sent by Sigmar into the Endless Deserts to seek out the Tomb Kings and reforge the alliance they held before the Age of Chaos. And here's a little bit of the map. You can see Desert's End. The border to the desert. And again, this is just a very small section of the Endless Deserts. It's not by any means all of it.
We can see the floating spires that contain massive amounts of carrion, meaning that I can only think of the thousands and thousands of carrion that live in those spires that no one in the world owns because no person owns more than like 6 of those birds.
Hey, but if you want to, go scour eBay now and pick up all the carrion before someone else does.
Carrion. There you go, all of them.
This is a nice piece by Max Fitzgerald right here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's really great. I love that piece. Holy crap.
Very reminiscent of like Adrian Smith and Karl Kopinski, some of their earlier stuff.
Yeah, that eclipse is so tight in the background with that. Like that, oh man. That light dark transition that he's doing there is so sharp.
Yep. Sorry. The battle plan itself. And again, this hasn't really changed since I first did it, except a little bit. The only thing I did change is originally the battle plan was it was worded so that you can use any army. I recommended Tomb Kings, and this one I just changed it to one of the armies is Tomb Kings because it's in the Tomb Kings battle tome.
Sure.
Yeah. Yep.
So the quirk in this one, it's an ambush scenario, and I mean there's a few quirks, but one of the ones that I like is the Tomb Kings. Any of their units with the reanimate keyword can be set up as ambushers, and you can set up 1 unit per scenery piece on the board.
Oh.
And you have to mark it down beforehand, and they can pop out
of the sands pieces. Yeah, because that's the thing. Oh, so good.
You are on their home turf. I mean, come on now.
Exactly. And here we get into the rules. So the allegiance abilities. I released these back in July. They have more or less stayed the same with a few tweaks here or there. So you've got, for people who aren't familiar with them, if you have the Tomb King's Allegiance, you get the Allegiance abilities, which gives you Undying Servitude, which is just the the 6-up death save, basically carrying over to them. The Hierophant, one of your Lich Priests, if you take a Lich Priest, must be the Hierophant, which is the head Lich Priest. It's basically just more powerful than other Lich priests. But if he dies, then it affects your units negatively around him, just like back in 8th.
Oh, yeah.
Legion's Eternal. If an enemy unit is within 3 inches of a unit of skeleton warriors, archers, horsemen, horse archers, or chariots that sorry, I'm messing up my own rules here. An enemy unit is within 3 inches of a unit of skeleton warriors, archers, that any horsemen, horse archers, or chariots that turn also charge, the same unit can pile in up to 6 inches instead of 3. So it's kind of this showing how the legions work in concert and how units can lock other units into combat to allow them more quick-moving things to get in there. You get the command traits. You got your spell lore, which is a big thing I definitely want to bring back because magic was a huge part of the Tomb Kings army in 8th edition.
Well, I mean, I think in every edition, like Tomb Kings have always had, going back to their very first book and their very first release, even in the world of 6th edition, they had a completely unique magical system, right? That was just off on its own path compared to what everybody else was doing. And you still see some of it preserved all the way into Age of Sigmar with the Lich Priest scroll, right? The reason that Lich Priest has that scroll is because originally Tomb Kings magic in the first book was a completely scroll-based magic system. So.
Yep. So we got, I named them all after different Tomb King's gods, and of course the number 6 spell is Cetra's Incantation of Dominance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Basically take over a unit and make them hurt themselves.
Awesome. Make a meal. That's what you're doing. Kneel.
Yeah. You got the different artifacts, magical artifacts.
Yeah, I see the Destroyer of Eternities hanging out, hiding down there in the corner. Yeah, we'll let everybody check that out next week.
The K-Tep's Lich Staff. We'll call back to another special character there.
Yep.
And so then we got the battalions. So you'll notice here, unofficial, so I can't highlight that, unofficial War Scroll Battalion. So all the ones that are new have the word unofficial above them, so you can tell. All right, everyone? And back here, unofficial rules. Just telling you that, these are not official Games Workshop rules. Please get your opponent's permission before using them in the game.
It's good.
Very nice.
We got the Grand Tomb Legion, which is the mega formation. And each of the cohorts also gets their own formation with requirements. The Phalanx cohort requires 1 Tomb King or Tomb Herald, 1 to 2 units of Tomb Guard, 2 to 4 units of Skeleton Warriors, and 1 to 4 units of Skeleton Archers. And it gives them bonuses for that. Swift Vengeance cohort, Stone Rock cohort. Again, some guest models here.
Yay! It almost killed me to rebase like those 8 models, by the way, or whatever it is, like 9 models.
Yeah, not big on the rebasing.
It's a problem for me. Yeah.
They look so much better on rounds.
They do, Vince. They really do. Like I'm not. Hey, no, that's not the reason. They look so much more awesome. They do. Yep. But it still almost killed me. But still, I was happy to do it.
So then we got the Stalker cohort and the Artillery cohort. And then, of course, the other type of battalion I wanted to bring in here after seeing the Sylvaneth is like the War Groves and the War Clans from Bone Splitters and the Storm Hosts. So we got the Tomb Legions. So we've got 2 of them here. You got the Tomb Legion of Farak. So you got the main one. Means taking the Necropolis High King, which represents Farak, and 1 Swift Vengeance cohort, which must contain at least 2 Skeleton Chariot units. So he's got some bonuses to his Chariot base, Chariot Heavy Legion. So he's got some bonuses to his chariots, other fast-moving units here. He's also got some bonuses to his own model himself to boost him a little bit. And then you can take a magical artifact called the Bane of the Usurper. Of course, it's more effective against other death units that do not have the Tomb Kings keyword.
Love it.
Yep. And then the Tomb Legion of Kahara. This is actually Alexander Nygaard's Tomb Legion, because he's been helping with this project for a long time as well, giving feedback on it and helping out with stuff here and there. So his army he includes a lot of other death units in his army, so I figured this would be a fun other example of a Tomb Legion to include, because you can include 0 to 2 death units in it as well. It doesn't have to be Tomb Kings keywords. And
Nice.
then they've got, Nexus of Necromancy, Leech Life. They're a little bit more evil undead based Tomb Kings.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be putting together my Tomb Kings, and I'm going to do my Tomb King is going to have a new Lamia allegiance. And I want to kind of tease that out. So,
and then I included the original, the OG battalions here for completion. So you got the Compendium Tomb Legion and the Compendium Royal Legion of Chariots. War Scrolls. So Cetra and Kalita, exactly the same. Some wording's changed around in them, so it doesn't say Cetra anymore or Kalita anymore. And they each have an additional rule in here, bound by tradition. So even though they're not a named character anymore, they still can't take artifacts or command traits.
Right.
So it doesn't break the game.
So functionally, these are just operating identically to Kalita and Cetra, including the restrictions.
Yep, they're exactly identical.
That's just not a named character.
Yes.
So this is a neat way to kind of get around some of those restrictions, like leave the restrictions in. So power level doesn't change in like match play, for example. But now this is just one of the Necropolis High Kings.
Yeah, and you can make it your Necropolis High King, right? That's what's important.
Yeah. Yep, that's the main idea with it. I wanted people to be able to use this for their own army without having it to be Cetra.
That's good.
I also put the Tomb Kings keyword in for everyone, because I was missing from before, even though that it calls out Tomb Kings Allegiance in the
For those that don't know what he's talking about, Kalita previously, if you had Tomb King's Allegiance and you had and choose your general, your skeletal archers would be battle line. Just a nice, neat thing in the General's Handbook. The problem is that Tomb King's Allegiance isn't a thing. Like, nothing actually had the Tomb King's keyword. Like, none of the actual real scrolls had the Tomb King keyword. And so Tyler and I had a pretty funny conversation about that.
Yeah. So in the end, I went in and I did all of it. Added Tomb Kings in for every unit.
As they should have.
So we just got some more of the existing. Nothing's changed on these at all, except for adding Tomb Kings in as a keyword. Besides that, everything is exactly the same as it was before. And you get the first new unit right here, Tomb Herald and Royal Chariot.
He says unofficial. Say it.
Unofficial, up at the top. So this is, again, I wanted to bring back units that existed in 8th edition that were dropped in the transition because they didn't have models. So Tomb Herald and Royal Chariot's the first one. He can take an Ancient Spear or a Flail of Skulls for the people that actually converted a, what's his name? Nikaf, I think was the character's name. He's got some pretty cool rules in there. I'll let people read on their own. Some more of the existing ones.
That was always a super fun model to convert too. I really enjoyed converting my Tomb Herald in Chariot. Like, I remember that. Yeah, it was an earlier conversion of my Tomb Kings army. It was always a good conversion.
Oh, tell us about this. Necrolith Colossus.
Necrolith Colossus. So this was, people that played in them in 8th might remember that the Bone Giant was not a thing, and it was called the Necrolith Colossus. So it had more weapon options, basically. And I wanted to, again, there was no model for it, but for the people that took the time, effort, and money to convert up, a Bone Giant with a giant bow, or actually converted up a like a more statuesque bone giant. I wanted to give him something. So it's exactly the same as a bone giant in stats, more or less. But you also get the option for the Bow of the Desert or a massive glaive, which were the two other weapon options that the Necrolith Colossus had in 8th edition. I didn't want to change the Bone Giant War Scroll because I didn't want to mess with any of the existing stuff, so I just split it off into its own War Scroll.
Right.
It's a great idea.
All right, the other two big ones here. The Hyro Titan and the Kenrick Titan.
Yep. Obviously, I've already got my Hyro Titan from the previous edition. I've actually got two.
Tyler.
Yeah.
I hate to be that guy.
Yeah.
The headings on your Kenrick Titan are missing for melee and ranged weapons.
Shh, no, it's not.
Sorry, I didn't catch it in initial editing.
That will be fixed before the release on Wednesday. Don't worry.
There you go.
But yeah, so you can see, we tried to bring over a lot of the flavor of these units from 8th into AOS, though, and make them more AOS. So you got, the Hero Titan is a magic heavy reanimate, giant walking magical statue, basically. And whereas the Kenrick Titan is just a gigantic, beat face unit.
Yes, I've got this model all prepped up for conversion. It's on my.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, I do.
I do too.
So for those of you that don't know, Vince and Tom helped me with the rules for all of these the new units here, so they may have known this was coming for a while now ahead of time.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
I suppose if that means also if you don't like something about some of these new rules, you can blame. You can also partially blame Tom and I. So don't get angry at just Tyler. You spread that around. Spread that internet hate around.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think the rest of it is all existing. Yep, existing ones. Another army shot here. And then you get the 4 pages of rules and the pitch battle profiles. So we've got points in here for all the new units down here at the bottom. You see, they're the ones that say, must have opponent's permission to use. Is the note on there. And you've got points for the Herald and Chariot, the Hero Titan, the Colossus, and the Kenrick Titan, as well as all the new battalions. So if you want to use them in match play games with your, opponent's permission, you can go ahead and use them. They are pointed.
You know what that looks like to me, buddy?
Huh.
That looks like a complete battle tome. Unofficial as it may be, that looks like a complete battle tome to me.
Why, yes, it is.
Fantastic. I love it. Sir, that is just top-notch work all the way through. I cannot explain how excited I am about it, how grateful I am to you for putting in God knows how much freaking work to do it. For corralling to all the artists who contributed. I mean, it came out amazing. I mean, just bottom line, it's stellar.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of work, and a lot of work from everyone that contributed to it too.
Oh,
rock and roll.
That is coming, my friends, to the internet near you next week.
There you go. Wednesday the 22nd. Like I said, Tyler's site will be linked down below. There's your next big release. There you go. One of the most common things I see about on the Dwarven posts, just to return to this real quick. One of the most common things I see on the Dwarven post is, I want some death stuff, right? Like that's just so many people, the death players who want attention. Well, guess what? There you go. Look, you may not be
getting some fan service.
Exactly, but look, this is good stuff. And who cares? Talk to your opponent. It's fun, and it's great work all through. There you go.
Yeah, definitely. And for TOs that are out there, I want to highly encourage you guys to give this a read through, especially the unofficial content, because Tyler's done a wonderful job here, and it is worth reviewing consideration for your events, is what I would say.
Look, if you ever allowed Chaos Dwarves in your tournament, I don't see much of a difference here, okay? This is frankly as real of an army as Chaos Dwarves ever were, so it seems like basically the same thing to me.
Most of this book is, in fact, in the General's Handbook. Chaos Dwarves, still not.
That's right. This is, in fact, probably more real percentage than the Chaos Dwarves. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that excellent point. That is exactly right.
And so for those new units, those unofficial units, I want to encourage you, if you have any sense about points and balance, to just read them through, read the points. I think you'll find that there are going to be competitive options in there. There are going to be probably some uncompetitive options, I don't think that there's anything in there that's out of whack, is what I would say. There's nothing that's just outright broken. There are some very competitive, some strong options, but I don't think anything is just outright broken.
And this being an online PDF, there's absolutely no reason I can't release a Tomb Kings version 2.0 down the line if we get some player feedback on, this needs adjusting here or there. We can take it all into account and actually adjust it and update it.
Yep.
Turnaround is very quick.
There you go. One other point I want to make is about miniatures. One of the things that I saw in the comments was, that it's a shame you can't get the models anymore. All right. Well, I mean, obviously, I'll assume everybody has heard of eBay. And that's fine. I agree. Some of these models are expensive. Okay, if you really want to get in there. Doom and Darkness is selling his entire Tomb Kings force right now, a massive force. So reach out to him if you're looking to get in. It's painted. The man has 13 regular shop tea and 10 bow shop tea. I'm just saying. Okay.
Wow.
And so he's almost got as many as me. But at any rate, what I'll say is that at the same time you've got Kings of War makes a line, Mantic makes a line of similar-ish troops, but I would also point people toward Tabletop Miniature Solutions. I did a product review on my channel about them. They have some really great models. They made them for the 9th Age, but obviously they're usable for this, much as some of the artists also contributed work to both, so can the models work for both. And they're, I really, really, really highly encourage you to check them out. Models are pretty freaking great. The Dread Sphinx, what is the Dread Sphinx in 9th Age, the Necro Sphinx in Age of Sigmar is really one of the most gorgeous models ever. So give it a look. There you go. So you got options.
And you can always convert.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what? There are lots of skeletons out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
No lack of skeletons in the miniatures world, that's for sure.
Right.
And as you pointed out, Tyler, you've seeded these across the mortal realms in the book. There's no reason they have to be exactly one particular flavor, right? There can be lots of different takes on these.
Yeah, just I always imagine like the ones in the Azir, Stormcast them up, make them gold plated. Why wouldn't a Tomb King want to be gold plated? He'd love it.
Absolutely, absolutely. They gold plate everything.
Yeah, I can just see just spraying them with Retributor gold, just coating those bones. Wash, dry brush, done. The Gold Legion.
Yep. Like Vatican City over there, just everything is gold plated. That's all I'm saying. It's good to go. All right. Well, we've gone on for a long time, but I think it's best we probably bring it to a close. But yes, Wednesday the 22nd, link is down below. Tyler, I'll let you close us out. Your final thoughts on this and what you want to tell people.
Yeah, Wednesday, check it out. It's going to be up on Mengel Miniatures. It's going to be up on Endless Desert. It's probably going to be up on a couple more sites. I don't want to say just yet, just in case they're not there. But they will probably be up in at least 2 other places for you to download for free with the headers for the Cameric Titan updated in there before I put it up there. At the very least, download it, read through it, check it out. Even if you don't play Tomb Kings, there's plenty of just good stuff in there to read. Other races are thrown in there too. There's a little nods to Bretonnians in there if you can find it. It's pretty obvious. I think you'll find it. I hope everyone enjoys it and likes it, and let me know what you think about it and what you want to see from the future. Oh, speaking of the future, I guess I want to say future projects. One thing I do want to talk about, the next thing I'm working on potentially working on very, very early stages is I have started talking to Sam, aka Bottle of Hinterlands fame, about doing a collaboration between the two of us for an Endless Deserts expansion onto Hinterlands. So it'll kind of be a Endless Deserts setting campaign supplement, like source book with lots of background on the rest of the deserts, not just the Tomb Kings and the rest of the people that are in there, and some other kind of more narrative driven aspects of it.
Hell yeah. That's what I'll say to that. That's fantastic. Well, very good. Tyler, thank you again so much for coming on, buddy. We were glad to have you. Thank you for sharing so much of the tome with us. I know that I'm sure everybody watching this is going to be excited. Share this out there. Tell your friends. Check it out. You can't get a better cost to check out the book than $0. Seems like a pretty square deal for all the work that Tyler's put into it. So give it a look. And there you go. So I'll say, as always, thank you very much, everybody. We appreciate you watching. We'll see you next Wednesday.